Hi, Danny Marrow again. Continuing on trying to document by archaeologists and scholars the lies of Islam. Number one, Allah is the moon god of paganism before Muhammad. Number two, the Quran is not a holy book. And number three, the gross injustices and lies that is perpetrated in the name of Allah. Today we're going to look at marriage, divorce, adultery, and polygamy. And I'm reading again. These are not my words. These are words of scholars and archaeologists who have documented what they have observed in history and in archaeology. Marriage, divorce, adultery, and polygamy. In his personal life, Muhammad had two great weaknesses. The first was greed. By looting caravans, which means stealing, and Jewish settlements, he had amassed fabulous wealth for himself, his family, and his tribe. When we turn and look at the life of Muhammad, we find that he clearly killed and robbed people in the name of Allah. According to the Quran, he taught his disciples by example, command, and precept that they could and should kill and rob in Allah's name and force people to submit to Islam. His next greatest weakness was women. Although in the Quran he would limit his followers to having 4 wives, he himself took more than 4 wives and concubines. The question and the number of women in whom Muhammad was sexually involved, either as wives, concubines, or devotees, was made a point of contention by the Jews in Muhammad's day. Ali-T comments, all the commentaries agree that verse 57 of Surah 4 on Nessa was sent down after the Jews criticized Muhammad's appetite for women, alleging that he had nothing to do except to take wives. Since polygamy was practiced in the Old Testament by such patriots as Abraham, the mere fact that Muhammad had more than one wife is not sufficient in and of itself to discount the claim to prophethood. But this does negate the fact that the issue has historical in terms of trying to understand Muhammad as a man. It also poses a logical problem for Muslims, because the Quran in Surah 4:3 forbids the taking of more than 4 wives. To have taken any more would have been sinful for Muhammad. One Muslim apologist with whom I was conversing argued as follows: Muhammad was sinless. The Quran makes taking more than 4 wives a sin. Therefore, Muhammad could not have taken more than 4 wives. Why? Because Muhammad was sinless. He could have taken more than 4 wives. I pointed out the question of how many wives Muhammad or anyone else had should be answered on the basis of the historical and literary evidence and not blind faith. Muslim scholar and statesman Ali Dashi gives the following list of the women in Muhammad's life. 1. Haji. 2. Hind. 3. Sauda. 13. Asma of Saba. Aisha. 14. Zabnab of Hosama. Salama. 15. Abla. Halsa. 16. Asma of Norma. Zainab of Jahesh. 17. Mary the Christian. Jawari. 18. Rahana. Abiba. 19. Sharif. Shafia. 20. Mayamuna of Harish. 21. Zanab, a third one. Fatima. 22. Kala. Several observations need to be given about the above list. The first 16 women were wives. Number 17 and 18 were slaves or concubines. The last 4 women were neither wives or slaves but devout Muslim women who gave themselves to satisfy Muhammad's sexual desires. Zainab of Jahesh was originally Muhammad's adopted son Zaid's wife, The fact that Muhammad took her for himself has been problematic to many people, Muslims included. God does not break his own word, and he never changes his mind. Now read Surah 33, 36 through 38. The vindicated prophet Moses taught under the Old Testament that a minister could only marry a virgin or the widow of a minister, Leviticus 21, 13 through 15. The vindicated prophet Jesus taught under the New Testament that an apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, or teacher can marry only a virgin in the faith because he is a type of Christ who is uniting only with virgins to the Word. Every prophet from Adam taught that any woman who has more than one living husband is an adulteress. Her subsequent husband is an adulterer with her first husband, as polygamy was legal only for the men. Genesis 3:16, Romans 7, 1 through 3. Aisha was only 8 or 9 years old when Muhammad took her to his bed. According to Hadith, she was still playing with her dolls. This facet of Muhammad's sexual appetite is particularly distressing to Westerners. While in Islamic countries an 8 or 9-year-old girl can be given in marriage to an adult male, in the West, most people would shudder to think of an 8 or 9-year-old girl being given in marriage to anyone, although it is condoned by the Jews' Talmud. This aspect of Muhammad's personal life is something that many scholars pass over once again because they do not want to hurt the feelings of Muslims. Yet history cannot be rewritten to avoid confronting the facts that Muhammad had unnatural desires for little girls. Finally, Mary, the Coptic Christian, refused to marry Muhammad because she would not renounce Christianity and embrace Islam. She bravely chose to remain a slave rather than convert. The documentation for all the women in Muhammad's harem is so vast and has been presented so many times by able scholars that only those who use circular reasoning can object to it. Well, from my viewpoint, I don't care if the Muslims are offended or not. It is wrong that this false prophet would use the Quran to justify his deviant sexuality. And I rest my case.